Welcome to the Life After Sugar podcast, the podcast that's not just about sugar, but about your relationship with it and also with food and especially with yourself. So if you want to discover your life after sugar and hear inspiring stories from all kinds of people who also cut out sugar in their way, at their pace, for their own reasons, this is the podcast for you. Because when you take away the sugar, you can finally discover the real sweetness in your life. I'm your host, Netta Gorman. And in this episode, I want to talk to you about something that I think isn't talked about enough, which is that yes, once you've reduced or cut sugar, you can feel amazing. But when you first start, it can also feel really difficult and uncomfortable. So I want to talk about the pros and the cons of reducing or cutting sugar and give you a few tips to help make it easier. We'll get to the pros and cons in just a minute. But first, I just wanted to tell you that if you're looking for some free resources, then I have plenty for you. First, download my 5 tips to get rid of cravings. And those 5 tips may not be what you think they are. So go to aftersugarclub.com and download your 5 tips today. And while you're at aftersugarclub.com, why not take the cravings quiz? I created this cravings quiz specifically to help you start thinking more deeply about what triggers your cravings. And when you do this quiz, you'll get your personalized score as well as my practical tips to help you take your first step to get rid of cravings. Those free resources are at aftersugarclub.com. And also, come check out the Life After Sugar Facebook page and subscribe to the Life After Sugar YouTube channel, as well as my Instagram account at My Life After Sugar, which is where you'll get all kinds of inspiration so that you can see that it's perfectly possible to live a happy and active life even if you don't eat sugar. You can also check out my TikTok account at Netta_lifeaftersugar. All right, so there are pros and cons of reducing or cutting sugar. And I say reducing or cutting sugar because both are absolutely valid. In other words, even if you reduce the sugar that you eat just a little bit, it's better than no reduction at all. And if you go right down to 0 added sugars, then that's even better. But as I say, you don't have to be at 0 added sugars. There's no prize or anything. You might just find that you feel better and you have more energy and you're not obsessed with food and struggling with cravings anymore. That's all. So look, we hear all these success stories, including my own, where people have more energy, more mental clarity, more calmness around food when they reduce or cut sugar. But what we don't always talk about is that messy middle period when it's really, really hard, when the cravings spike before they quiet down, where we have to deal with our emotions that we've been numbing by eating sugar, and where we're frustrated because we're not hitting our weight loss or other goals as fast as we were expecting. And one of the top mistakes that a lot of people make when they want the result of feeling free from sugar is to ignore the messy part of actually getting there. Sometimes we feel that if we just had a little bit more information, that would help us on our path. But let me give you a reality check. You don't need more information. You probably have access to way more information than you actually know what to do with. More information isn't necessarily the answer. If you want real change, sustainable change, then what you need is, a reality check. Someone to tell you what to expect, step by step, so that you expect the messiness of getting to life after sugar, because transformation and change are not a straight line. And as I often say, real life happens whether or not you eat sugar. And real life is messy. So my goal in this episode isn't to give you a list of good versus bad with respect to sugar, but rather to give you an honest roadmap of what the journey can actually be like for you. So first reality check is that yes, sugar is everywhere, or at least it feels like it is, because it's woven into our foods, our celebrations, our comfort rituals, so it can feel like impossible to even imagine a world where we're not eating sugar. And so when someone decides to eat less sugar or no sugar, it feels like it's really a weird or impossible decision. And believe me, I've had people judge me for cutting sugar for years. And so I suppose that's one con that you can't even control, other people's judgments of you. On the other hand, a pro is that I made this decision for me. And especially, I continued my decision to remain sugar-free because I could feel something that was happening much deeper. This energy, this calm, this self-trust and freedom that I've been experiencing for the last 10 years is a far bigger pro than any con of other people's judgment, or even my own self-judgment. And in my program, the Freedom from Cravings formula, this is what I call your big why. When your big why is clear for you, then that is a much bigger pro than any of the cons along the way. I want to take a quick break to say that if this is your first time here, then welcome and thank you for listening to this podcast. And whether you're new or a regular and you haven't yet rated or reviewed this podcast, could I ask you to scroll down and tap on the stars to rate this podcast and also to write a short review to let me know how this podcast is helping you in your life after sugar. I love reading your reviews. And when you rate and review this podcast, not only does it encourage me to continue making new episodes, but it also helps to share this podcast and have more people see it so that we can help more people feel better and lose weight with less sugar. So again, thank you for rating and reviewing this podcast and for spreading the word about sugar. Okay, so reality check. Here are a few physical cons when you first try reducing sugar. Because let's face it, we often feel worse before we feel better. So you may experience headaches or irritability or fatigue or cravings that suddenly feel louder, and you may even feel hungrier for a while. Why? Because your brain and your whole body is getting used to a whole new reality. Your brain is recalibrating dopamine. Your body is switching from fast-burning glucose as a source of fuel to fat oxidation and more stable fuel. So your whole biology is changing and reorganizing itself into what one of my program participants called your discomfort zone. And very often this is a stage where cravings are loud, motivation wobbles, and it feels like it would be so easy to give up. So yes, it feels like huge cons, right? But actually, this discomfort is not in and of itself a con. You can actually see it as a pro because it's like a doorway into a whole other world. A whole other world of pros, like your energy that becomes more stable. So no more sugar highs followed by blood sugar crashes, where your blood sugar and insulin sensitivity improve, where your inflammation decreases, where your sleep can deepen and stabilize, and where your cravings can actually calm down. In fact, we often crave sugar because our energy is unstable because of sugar. But when you get your blood sugar levels stable, which happens when you don't eat sugar, then your energy becomes more stable. And that is a huge pro. So there are cons, but there are way more pros. And when we have more realistic expectations, then that can go a long way to helping your path to freedom from cravings become a little bit smoother. So here are some more cons to do with the emotional side of cutting or reducing sugar. Because the truth is that when you reduce or cut sugar, you lose this screen that helps you numb your emotions. And many of us use sugar as a source of comfort or soothing. And that is totally valid. It's just that when you don't have that source of comfort or soothing anymore, you're stuck having to handle your emotions. And that can definitely feel like a big con, because you have to deal with your sadness, your boredom, your loneliness, maybe your low self-esteem, your tiredness, your irritability. Maybe you have to deal with aspects of your life that you'd rather sweep under the carpet and pretend like nothing's wrong. So it can be a huge learning curve to learn new coping skills to replace the job that sugar had of, well, not really helping you to cope with your emotions, but helping you to numb them so that you don't have to cope with them. And this is what I teach in my program. This is where we turn the cons into pros. Because I created this program specifically to help you go deeper into your relationship with food, especially sugar, and also into your relationship with yourself, so that you can finally get rid of cravings, slim down, and feel more in control around food. In the program, you'll get step-by-step guidance and customized support through the 5-step formula that I've developed to help you stop emotional eating, break free from cravings, and feel more in control around food, so that you can finally live your life with more energy and fit into your favorite clothes effortlessly, and feel confident in your food choices so that you can ditch the shame and embarrassment that you feel every time your emotions make you slip or fall off the wagon, and so that you never feel like you're on some kind of restrictive diet. If you're at the stage of your life when you're finally ready to look after yourself, let's chat. You can talk directly to me on a free clarity call at any time by going to aftersugarclub.com and clicking on Program at the top. You'll also find the link with the show notes together with this episode. So go to aftersugarclub.com. Speak to you soon. That's it for this week. Keep in touch and see you soon for another episode.